Hi, I'm Tony Rodriguez. Welcome to Creatia. Now, let's commune with the leaf. The interesting thing about living in this generation today is that science, for the first time, knows what it will never know. We have reached the end of science. What I mean is we don't know everything there is to know, and we know we will discover so much more. But at the same time, we know that in certain areas there are limits, places that we will never be able to reach and totally understand. And so for the very first time in the history of man, science now knows what it will never know. And that's a profound statement, because where science and physics ends, metaphysics begins. So for the first time, science has to admit that it cannot ever give us all the answers to life. We have to understand, and we do understand now, that there's something more to life than what the meters say on the instruments. And there's nothing wrong with believing in a higher power and something beyond which we do not understand to explain how this all began. Even the best understanding of how we got here, the Big Bang, tells us that it all started from nothing. So something came into existence from nothing. In fact, we believe now that everything came from an infinitely small point of infinite energy. Now, if you just concentrate and think about that, it would just freak anybody out. An infinitely small point of infinite energy. So the interesting thing about living in today's times is that science, for the very first time, knows that it will never know everything there is to know. In fact, in many areas, we can look forward like a speeding train in the locomotive of progress. You know, we know we're progressing and we're learning so much more, but our chief scientists can look forward down the tracks and they know it ends in certain places. They know there's places we can never go to. For example, to understand the actual properties that happen at the beginning of the universe, we have to replicate those energies, and we can never replicate those energies. And in fact, trying to replicate infinity and deal with the concept of infinity is impossible, because once we get to infinity, all mathematics and all our physics stop. For example, there's a number now that exists that we know that no computer in the universe will ever be able to factor. And you could say, how can you know that? Because if you took all the time that ever existed and you took all the atoms in the universe and somehow connected them up in RAM, and you had a computer that processed at the speed of light, which is the fastest speed that anything could operate at. If you had all of that, if you had the theoretical most powerful computer that could ever be built, it would never crunch that number. So it's interesting, we have a number that we can write down and we'll never be able to answer. This is another great example how we know now that there are certain things that science will never be able to answer for us. The bottom line is that we live in an incredibly fortuitous situation with our physics and with the constants that are going on in the universe that have created what we have today. Even if you aren't theistic, you have to believe in incredible amount of luck.